You want to wait a few minutes and see if, so we have, there's Mr. Kozlak, we have Mr. Rokas. I saw one more. Mr. Demazi, I think, correct?
So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit after 8:30. There's probably a few more people that will join as we get going, but I think we could probably get started. I want to be respectful of everybody's time here. Um, and I just want to thank you for taking the time out. This is intended to be a workshop. We're not going to give a huge presentation, just a couple slides so you know what we've done and where we are and the information we've gathered. And we really just want to hear from you and really what your experience on East Main Street has been. What's been good for you? What has not been good for you? What challenges have you faced? If there's things that you think that we can do to make it better, and kind of just hear from you. So with that, I did open the chat bar. So if you have questions that you would rather put in the chat feature, please feel free to do that, or just unmute yourself and speak up. We'll try to be respectful of each other here. But if it gets too many people continue to join us, we can work it different. But right now, I think we can all just kind of unmute ourselves and talk and have a conversation. The city is partner doing this grant. We've partnered with the COG to help administer this grant, and BSC and Good Earth Advisors are our consultants that are helping us with this. So on the call today, we have Val Farrow and Michael Clutchman, who are also here to help facilitate the discussion and help answer questions, hear what you have to say, because they're the ones who are going to make all these comments and get them into the report, and kind of make them action steps. So with that, I'll turn it over to Val and let her take it from here.
Good morning, thank you. Good morning, folks.
Morning.
Thanks for assuming everybody's all caffeinated up and you've gotten your 6-mile run in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You took the shower, you're ready to talk. Well, we do appreciate this. And, you know, this is great because we intended to have some small little focus groups of 3 or 4 folks at a time. And so this is great because we certainly do want to have a conversation. And as Rista said, you know, we've got a team, BSC, Michael Clutchman is actually the project manager. And we've been diving into a lot of technical things. So I do want to let you know that if you log on to the city's website, there'll be a very large presentation there that you can go through. And I think we have the recording of that as well, right? We did go through a presentation for the recording, so that's on the website as well. So if you know, if you want the technical details, that's where to get them. Today, I just wanted to really go through a couple slides, just give you a really broad overview, and then, you know, again, let's just have a conversation. Now, if you guys don't know what the confines of the corridor study is, we start down here at you know, the infamous 5 Points intersection right downtown, and then we head eastward right to the New Hartford line. And as you know, so this is 3.5 miles, and it really, it's interesting because when you drive through it, it sort of appears homogeneous, but as we have really dug into the details of the traffic and the land use and the connectivity, it really changes in characteristics as we head from west to east. So here are our major goals, certainly our overriding goals. There's other things that we're going to try to do. As always, when we start these plans, we think we're going to go head in one direction. We're not deviating dramatically, but you know, there's a few other things that we're picking up that we'd like to investigate. But certainly, first and foremost is traffic flow and safety. And of course, with that is the connectivity. There's very little of it, so we certainly want to improve it. And of course, we want to look at some best practices and how we can strike this balance between all the cars, all the businesses, hopefully more people on bikes and walking. And of course, the thing to keep in mind here is that we're not necessarily encouraging an up and down, east and west circulation as cars and vehicles go, but possibly some north and south and crossing up and down between these neighborhoods. And one of the things we certainly want to hear from you folks is in terms of if you're business owners, just are you collecting people regionally, or are you seeing people actually walk back and forth? And just what is the characteristic of your patron? Because I think that as we increase connectivity, and of course we help traffic flow, we hope that businesses will certainly continue to succeed. And that's the other thing that we've seen. We've seen corridors. This is certainly a perfect example of very successful. It's become a regional shopping destination. But as you guys know, with success also becomes there's traffic, more and more congestion. So what we don't want is we don't want this to become so congested that people are starting to think, oh yeah, I need to run over here. Geez, I'd love to go take a look at, a new car, but it's really congested out there. I need to wait. That's what we don't want. So, all of that is really folded into what we're going to try to do here. And then last but not least, but encourage sustainable growth patterns. I mean, the type of growth that we want to see out there, we want to make sure it succeeds. We want to make sure it incorporates connectivity. We want to make sure it does lots of things, not just create jobs and bring taxes, but also protect neighborhoods and do things that a business owner would like to do in order to have the business continue successfully. So here's where we are. I won't rifle through all of this, but we've done a lot of data collection, a lot of assessments of just the traffic operations, also sidewalks and all the pedestrian crossings. Michael and I have done quite a bit of physical context analysis where we look at just land use and connectivity and just the type of physical characteristics in the corridor. We're also identifying some areas where we want to focus. And that's going to be really a large part of what we do in this next leg by December, just looking at some, not just development areas, but areas that we might be able to improve connectivity or traffic or what have you. Then, of course, outreach. We're going to have, we've had one public forum. We hope to have another one December. We'll have a wrap up in January. And then interspersed with those will be some of these smaller chats and some of these smaller meetings. And then, of course, ongoing is the website, and we have comment forums and things like that. So as you can see, we've got a lot to do. We've got to really focus in on, now that we have the existing conditions, start applying those existing conditions, and in the end, develop recommendations. Just a quick, just so you know where our heads are at and how we're tackling this. We've come up with 4 areas of the corridor. And hopefully next time I'm going to have a corridor map that actually shows those 4, but it really goes from the downtown gateway and then moving up and ends up with the regional shopping center. So those 4 segments are really the way we're going to examine traffic as well as the focus areas and connectivity. And when we dive into these focus areas, it's not just going to be development. It could be all of these. It could just be development. It could just be traffic. But these are the types of things that are on our menu that we will look at as we go into these focus areas. And we've got probably 7 or 8 identified throughout the entire corridor. And those actually are identified in that presentation that I mentioned that's on the city's website. I talked about this, so we want to keep people connected, and we just keep trying to get the word out. Yes, it is a challenge in this era of COVID, but we seem to be landing with folks. We know some of you have sent in emails. That's great too. So we know the message is getting out there, but we don't want to give up. We want to just keep connecting and give people as many opportunities as we can. And if you haven't gone to the city's website, there's there's a great little survey that Rista and the city have developed. Rista, you want to just touch on this and then we'll get going?
Sure. This is because it's 3 miles and there's a lot of different challenges with East Main Street. We really wanted people to be able to identify specific areas or specific intersections and tell us their concerns about that area. So what we did was using our GIS mapping. This is a link. You can go right on and type in your address or scan, find an intersection, click on that block, and then put your comment. So if there's a specific intersection or comment that you want to make, this is where you can do it. On our website, I have a little tutorial to show you how to use it if you kind of intuitive for you. So what we'll do with this is at the end, I think we're going to keep it open till the beginning of November. Then we'll compile all the comments and look at those there. But it's kind of a new way to try to reach out to people, especially in a condition like East Main Street, where there's just so many different areas and different concerns that might not be throughout the whole quarter, but very specific for a specific property or intersection.
Okay. So with that, we really want to hear from you. Rista, I'm going to close out. Well, I'll keep this open just in case we want to go back to maybe actually we'll go back to this and keep this up just for what have you. So now just so we know, so we've got Mr. Kozlak, Mr. Demasi. Who else did we see? Mr.
Rokas.
Rokas. Why do I not see you on the screen here? Let's, there we go. Okay. And if someone else joins, Rista, we'll know, right? Particularly if they just, okay. Okay, great. So would you guys mind, maybe you each take a minute just to go through and explain a little bit about, your business interest or your interest in, I think I know most of them, but just since we're going through this, and maybe for Michael's benefit, just a quick high level of how long you've been out in the corridor, what you see, what are your concerns, just some general overview. Maybe we start with Mr. Kozlak.
Yes, good morning. I'm located, I have a small seasonal nursery up on top of East Main, in the corner of East Main and Durham. I've been there since actually 1975. My home was there, my house. We actually moved the house down to its current location on Dibble Street to get away from the noisy traffic. And of course, now I'm on Dibble Street, which, we know what that's like. But yeah, like I said, I mean, my little business has been there. We'd actually sold things right in the front yard and then it expanded. We moved it in 1985. We moved the house and kind of made it an actual, business. It's been a part-time business, but it's been, it's worked out well, taking advantage of all the traffic on East Main. Needless to say, I've seen a number of changes over the years. And as I sit there now, I mean, the traffic obviously is certainly, a big concern. I know, probably about 15 years ago, I received, the neighboring business received a letter from the state DOT about their plans to add another lane in the westbound, traveling down the west bound 202 and realigning the Torringford West East Main Street intersection. And I think it's carrying the second lane all the way down to the next light at Buena Vista. It was supposed to happen in 5 years. Obviously that was around 2005. So, with the economic changes and, things in 2008, 2009, it just never materialized. Obviously, I contacted DOT probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago and kind of just asked them about it. They told me it was still on the agenda, but obviously got pushed down, way down on the, priority list. you know, they were more obviously now involved with the mix master. He said that was the number one
Oh,
in
geez.
this area, which I'm thinking, okay, yeah, well, you know, see, you know, well, I don't know when we'd ever see it, but anyway, you know, I know being in a state road, obviously they're gonna have to be involved in any kind of changes. Excuse me. But like I said, you know, that's, you know, where I am. It's, and now in the addition of some of the new businesses and the entrance and the exits of these new businesses that have been allowed, you know, like I said, it's just gotten, you know, I see it as certainly more dangerous than it has been in a long time. The speed, you know, from Torringford West going up to the Dibble Street entrance, you know, is a nice straightaway. People do really, you know, drive a little fast. And now even with the new entrance of Torrington Ford across the street from it, which is a beautiful building and, you know, everything, but the entrance now coming directly across from Durand Street, I've already had a couple of people up on my lawn, you know, in the past year as people stop to make a left-hand turn. You know, so again, you know, these are, you know, that's my main concern, is the traffic up in my end. I know my neighbor Al, who's right behind me, you know, I'm sure we'll speak to that as well.
Okay.
But
Can
okay.
I ask, has your business been impacted by the traffic? So I mean, more volume, you would think there'd be more people, but as congestion gets there, have you seen less people trying to come?
Not at all. No, I mean, you know, as far as the, you know, the flow, and as a matter of fact, I mean, as the addition of Walmart, which of course, you know, is going to be the end of all small businesses. I mean, the number of people that brought to this area really, you know, people, you know, came to my nursery I've never seen before. You never even knew I was there. You know, and the same thing even with BJ's. I mean, BJ's even more of a regional draw because there aren't, you know, any BJ's in this area other than Waterbury, West Hartford, I think are the closest ones. So, I mean, I've definitely seen an increase from out of town, you know, and people, you know, throughout the whole Litchfield County as well as Avon and, you know, that area, Canton. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, the big guys bring in the people, no question. But excuse me, again, you know, it's the traffic problem. And like I said, that was one of my questions to you is to, you know, is the state involved? Are we, you know, have we, you know, obviously, you know, heard from them? Do they have any plans? Like I said, in the intersection of East Main and Torringford West, as we all know, is just, you know, especially traveling west as it goes to, you know.
We should point out that the funding for the study came through a federal source to
Okay.
DOT through the COG. The COG is administering it for the city. So we have a technical advisory committee, and there's a person from DOT that sits right on our committee.
Great.
And he's been great because
Yeah,
he's a
well,
great sounding board. I mean, it's really good. And so the intent certainly, I mean, you know, you saw those project goals that we put up on the slide, but in effect, we want to write these recommendations so that when it comes time to get funding and the city businesses want to make a point, they can go back to our study and say, so look at, you talked about it here, you talked about it here. Now we have some solid recommendations based on data to support, I think, what you've just observed. So,
sure.
And can just, before we move on to maybe Mr. DeMasi, can you tell me how do folks access your site? Do they come down Durand and in? Or
really kind of always. I mean, I'm in a location that I'm bordered by 3 streets. I have this East Main, Battelle in the back, in Durand. So, I mean, obviously coming off of Torringford West to Battelle is a, you know, avoid the light at, you know, at the intersection for people traveling east, you know, getting on East Main East. They do come now from Durand. I mean, like I said, living on the corner of of Dibble and Duran. I mean, I've seen the increase of traffic, obviously on Dibble and as well as Duran Street, which concerns me too sometimes because of the playground there. And, and it is, obviously a primary, is a residential area. So, I mean, that's, been a kind of an issue as well. So,
Okay, that's good.
You know.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
no, like I said, they come from all over, from every direction. I can't really say, one,
Well, I have to
primarily.
tell you, I do have some of your plant materials in my yard.
Okay.
I believe
you.
2 astilbes and a phlox at least.
Okay, nice. Good choice.
Okay, Mr. Damasi, you want to
Yes,
handle?
yeah,
Welcome.
I can say exactly what Phil said. We're probably 75 to 50 feet away from each other, our businesses. And when I started back in 1963, I jokingly tell people East Main Street at that time was a dirt road. Of course, that's how long I've been there. And since then, the business traffic has increased. And I would say from Buena Vista Avenue up, the businesses are Jimmy's, Cumberland Farms, Torrenford West Street corridor, the intersection there, all the way up to, I don't know, maybe Mascarillos, I would say. Car dealerships, the business traffic has increased. Customers, I've told, if they want to go out Duran Street to East Main, turning left to go eastbound, forget about it. It's just very hazardous. A lot of traffic. And exactly what Phil has said, what we've seen, the amount of traffic has increased greatly.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I didn't catch, your business is what?
It's a hair salon, Smart Set Hair Design.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And leave just adjusted to the traffic where people will turn and go out Duran of Battelle Street,
Okay,
or up Duran Street to Dibble Street. If you're turning right to go down East Main Street, that's fine, but there was just too much traffic.
and so that's interesting. So you actually do you often have patrons that come in that say, oh my goodness, I almost just got rear-ended, or oh my God, it's really bad out there today? Or do they have any kind of anecdotal response to
Yes,
you?
yeah, as I say, if you're coming up East Main Street, heading west to turn
west.
left, you'd have to stop in the traffic coming down or behind you. So I just tell people if they possibly can turn on Torrenford West Street to go up and around Duran Street or Battelle Street. It's just a lot of traffic. And since Duran Street is a small street, like I said, Phil has many times, or my neighbor there, many times has said car has been pushed from an accident on East Main Street into his front yard.
That's crazy.
I remember when that house was moved, and that was a long time ago. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, that intersection, I think it's every intersection, plus going up further, the car dealers, entering and exiting them is pretty tough also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
it is.
And in terms of your business, has it remained constant or grown over the years? I mean, having a business.
No,
in
it's been, remained constant through the years.
Good.
People have
Excellent.
adjusted how they pull in and pull out.
Mhm,
And, luckily, my business is maybe 75 to 100 feet off of East Main Street.
mhm.
So nobody is pulling directly onto East Main Street, which is a plus.
And your patrons are local, or do they come from?
Local, yes.
Okay. Excellent. And do you know if, in talking with the patrons, you might not know this, but it's always fascinating to wonder if, do they sort of bundle their trip? So like for me, if I get my hair cut and then I'll go run and get groceries or pick up something at Home Depot, whatever that is, do you have a sense of that's what they're doing, or are they just coming and leaving?
No, I would say most people, if they're coming up to the east end of their town, or if they're well, I'm gonna leave here and I'm gonna stop at the store and pick up something, or I just, yeah, I mean, that's a common sense thing to do.
Yeah.
And
you'd
like I
hope
say,
so.
most of the people are in the area within, say, 10 miles.
Okay,
So, I mean, if they're coming to Torrington, you know, you're gonna go to BJ's, or you're gonna stop and get gas,
yeah,
or go to Walmart and Target after. So there, it's
Yep.
yeah, a bundle thing.
okay. That's great, very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Um,
I just add one thing when you asked Al about his customers, you know, asking about, you know, doing things all at once. I mean, I definitely, especially my elderly customers, and I'm sure Al sees this too. I mean, a lot of times they just will not even go on East Main Street. They'll drive any which way up to get up the top of the hill or down without going on East Main. Like I said,
Mhm.
especially, you know, elderly drivers. I mean, they're just fearful of getting out on East Main, being on East Main. I mean, I get that a lot. You know, so yeah, that is, I mean, like I said, we're kind of lucky because they can branch out, you know,
Right.
from Battelle to Torringford West and then down Charles or
right.
even to Kennedy. And a lot of them don't even, you know, will ask me, how can I avoid East Main? How can I get out of here without going on East
Oh,
Main? So, no,
Ouch. Yeah.
guide through, so.
Well, and you know, you mentioned something interesting because in considering, you know, the conditions for the elderly, it's a double whammy because we know that larger stores are a deterrent. They tend to go to smaller stores, even like for shopping. I did a grocery store evaluation once and we found, you know, it was like Big Y Stop and Shop, whatever. And we also looked at, you know, Highland Park because it's like a third of the size. And especially like on Sundays after church, whatever, filled with elderly, filled because they can just go up and down a few aisles and get their full grocery basket, even if it's more money.
Right.
But, you know, they often need help if they're going to go into a larger store. And think about it, Target and Walmart changing their format into food.
Mhm.
That's a heavy lift. So they're driving in an area where they feel unsafe because of the maneuvering. And then they have to go to a large store and, you know, go up and down the aisles for
True.
who knows how long. And you know, actually anecdotally, I've heard a few folks talking about now with COVID and the one-way aisles, you literally double the time you're in the store.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is true.
We're wearing people out.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
they even, excuse me, I was gonna say that,
Sure.
you know, some elder people are even I mean, not only don't want to stay off East Main Street, but are even more fearful of the parking lots of those big stores.
oh,
And with those,
absolutely.
like you were saying, you know, so
Absolutely.
you're right. It's easy for them to pull in and out of mine and drive away.
Yeah.
And same with Al's, you know, it's,
Yeah.
they feel comfortable with that. Like I
Yeah.
said, yeah, parking lots can be as
Oh,
well.
yeah. I mean,
Tougher
even my
than
own
other
parents, you know, I mean, I tell them that peripheral vision isn't what it used to be. And you think that you're looking both ways, but you have to actually turn your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Rista, I wasn't sure if Mr. Rokas, could we hear him or is he on audio? I'm not
Is he
sure.
still here?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yay. Yes.
Can you see me?
No.
Wait, if I hit this.
Oh,
So,
there he is.
Now?
There
Huh?
he is.
Yes, no?
Not yet. There you
there
are.
you go.
Hey, hey, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi. So you want me, is it my turn?
Liz,
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I lived in Torrington. I moved there in 1969 and lived there until 2013 when I retired to Westerly, Rhode Island. So I own 3 properties on East Main Street. I own a property right downtown next to the new plaza. Then I own 2 pretty much about halfway up East Main Street. And as my friends have said before, I've seen, you know, in the years I lived there, the traffic increases were tremendous. I saw a lot of accidents. My own mother-in-law was involved in a pedestrian was walking along the street,
Oh,
East Main Street, about halfway up. And she somehow walked into my mother-in-law. Of course, my mother-in-law was only going about 10 miles an hour, so she didn't really get hurt. But it just brought to the point to me, and I talked to our legislators about this a number of times. And because it's a state road, so it would be the state as I understand it, that we needed sidewalks on at least one side of East Main Street. It's almost shameful that we don't have that, because there are people that walk up and down when they work up in that area. They live down the street, down or up, well, most of the time it's downhill. And a lot of times, especially in the wintertime, they have to walk along the side of the edge of the road, and it's very dangerous. And I think that impedes traffic flow, because you know, you see someone walking along the road, and unfortunately, there's even a couple of disabled people that I've seen go up East Main Street. I mean, one guy is pushing he's got a walker. So that one of my strongest recommendations would be to have sidewalks, just sidewalks on one side. I don't think we need them on both sides.
We're working on it.
Yeah, good. Oh, Marty, how are you?
Good, Jim. Good to see you, buddy.
You
Yeah,
as
hi,
well.
Marty. I didn't see you there.
Yeah, I was on my iPad because I can't, my stupid computer isn't working very well today.
And is Rista still with us?
I'm here.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Rokas, continue.
That's
So-
okay. No, that's
and
fine.
Could you just give me a better idea of, so where are your properties? So you have 3 properties.
The one downtown is literally right next to the downtown, the new plaza. It's
Okay,
14-18 East Main Street.
okay.
We
Then I
built
own-
that plaza just for you, Jim.
Oh, yeah, now you need to find me some tennis. Well, I'll talk about that.
Yeah, get on that, Marty.
Yeah, come on. Get out there
Okay.
with-
And the second one is,
The second one is as you're going up the hill, it's right at the intersection of East Main and Yorkshire Street.
okay,
And then the next one is just up, there's the O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and I own the building just on the uphill side of that, on the same side of the street.
oh, so east of O'Reilly's
Yes,
on the north side.
on the north side, correct.
Gotcha, okay.
So my first thought is the sidewalks, and I know Marty has been aware of this for years, and it's an expense, but it just hopefully maybe, you know, this will be one of your recommendations, and somehow the state will find money to do
Definitely.
that. So then I don't see bicycling. I'm a bicyclist myself. I just bought my wife an electric bicycle, which is the neatest thing since sliced bread. If you don't have an electric bicycle, I don't see many people bicycling up East Main Street.
Yeah,
It's very steep. So I wouldn't be,
right.
we're looking 10, 20, you're looking 10 or 20 or 30 years down the road. Would people, you know what? I think electric bicycles are going to be more and more common and commonly used to go to and from work. So, I mean, having a bicycle lane on East Main Street certainly isn't a bad idea. But as I say, I think it would only be used if someone had an electric bike. And
Yeah.
but that is the future of bicycling. It's
Mhm.
pretty amazing.
Mhm.
So so the next thing, and I talked to Jerry Roulette about this, and maybe Marty as well, years ago. I said, because I come from Traverse City, Michigan, that's where my roots are, and they have some very busy roads out there. So what they've done is they've made it's very expensive. It would be nice maybe to have another lane added to East Main Street. I'm not sure that'll ever happen. So my recommendation would be to make the middle lane a turning lane only. And that is huge. Once people understand how to use that, that eliminates, like Phil and the other gentleman this morning who said, you know, the turning, people, when they're going to turn on East Main Street, depending on which lane they're in, they may have to wait for, 2, 3, 4 minutes times
Yeah.
the day to make that turn. So having that middle lane be a turning lane, I think would be a good idea. So I would pursue that. Oh, the other thing I thought about was when my wife and I go to Florida for a couple of weeks in the wintertime, and when we go back and forth through DC, and I don't know how many of you have been down there recently, but they have all these neat ways of having lanes open during busy times of the year. So in the morning, I've never been there in the morning, but they have, let's say, 4 or 5 lanes, dedicated lanes going into DC. And then later in the day, when all the people are getting out of work, they have those same lanes in the other direction. And they have the neatest thing. I mean, you've probably seen this. They have all these red flags. You don't dare. You can't really go into the wrong lane the wrong time of the day because you'd be hitting several obstacles if you tried to do that. But East Main Street would be a candidate for that. I mean, somehow you'd have in the morning, presumably that's when most of the traffic is headed east. So you'd have the 2 lanes going up in one direction and the other lane coming down. And then at nighttime, when people are returning, just the reverse. So then you'd have the 2 lanes coming down into town. And so I think that might be an idea that could be pursued.
Mhm.
Let's see. So as far as Upper East Main Street, I think those were the thoughts that I had. As far as downtown, Rista and Marty know that I love the plaza, but it has come at an expense to me personally because I've lost 2 tenants because of it, because of downtown parking. So I was even thinking this morning, is it such a crazy idea is you come down to that intersection, and I know I've seen the plans drawn to change the configuration of that intersection. I didn't look at it recently, but if you came downtown and you closed off the left side of that intersection in front of, I'm going to say in front of my building and O'Connor's and all through there, and made that somehow more parking available there, and then just had 2 lanes of traffic come. Well, I guess it would be still maybe 3 to that intersection, so people could still take a right up Main Street or go up Water Street or take a left and go up Route 202. But it might help the downtown parking right in that immediate area, and even if it was short-term parking, I've talked to Rista about short-term parking down there. So anyway, that was another thought I had.
How much parking do you think you could use or you actually need?
Well, I had a hair salon there and
Uh-huh.
and it was a small salon. And of course, I don't know what the next tenant is going to be, but she probably never had more than 2 or 3 patrons in there at one time.
Okay.
It was ideal for her with Franklin Street behind the building because it was always parking there for her patrons. And then Nirvana, who is literally closing, she's closing this Thursday.
But she's
And,
moving next door, so
well-
she isn't leaving because of parking, Jim.
Yeah, Marty, that's not, unfortunately, that's not true. She was going to move next door, but that didn't work out. So she's actually closing shop up entirely.
Mm.
And so in her case, I tried to get the city just to put maybe 1 or 2 short-term parking spaces there, because when I would be working around that building, I would see a lot of people pull up in front or in the back when that was available, and they'd run into her for one of these healthy drinks that she makes or whatever. So they'd only be there like maybe 10 minutes and they'd be back out again.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought, 1 or 2 short-term parking spaces would have been helpful. And I guess, I'm not sure well, I know that O'Connor's Pub, that they don't need short-term parking, and I'm not sure what's happening up the street as much, but for me, I can only speak for me personally. So, 2 to 3 parking spaces would have been helpful.
Mhm.
I'm a big person. I'm a big advocate of people walking a little bit. I'm not afraid to walk at all to some store that I want to go to. I don't have to be able to park right in front of it. Unfortunately, a lot of other people don't feel that way. I think that if people really want to go someplace, I mean, downtown parking is downtown parking. We do have municipal parking lots. We have the new one that we just opened, right just past the plaza. So there is parking, even within my building, probably within 500 feet, there's probably at least 100 parking spots. So people are funny when it comes to parking. So many people want to be, if they can't see the store or the building from where they park, they're parking, they just think it's, oh, I'm never go to that store again. It's way too far.
Yeah.
They're used to parking in shopping centers where, of course, parking there can get pretty tight too. But parts
Yeah,
of
they
it-
walk just as far.
Yeah, they do. That's right. But
I mean, it's just such this weird thing. What do you think about a little bit of wayfinding signage to let people know that they can park like around the corner or what have you? I know a couple places I visited, just, actually not recently, but maybe in the last 2 years, you know, I would go to these places and like a little coffee shop or whatever and be so popular. And I'm thinking up in Newburyport, Massachusetts is one of the areas where I noticed all of a sudden they've had some, you know, little signage. And sure enough, I'm like, I never knew I could park back there. I thought it was, you know, private parking. And just, you know, just a little bit of visual cue. I mean, maybe that'd help a little bit, but I understand that if you just had 2 or 3 designated spots, you know, it might help. It's always a struggle, absolutely a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the map is a good idea. I think it'd have to be large enough so that people driving could see
You
it.
see it, yeah.
And I probably would even allow something like that to be mounted on the side of my building. As you come across the bridge, well, almost if you come from every direction, you see the west side of my building there. You don't see it coming down the hill, of course, but so yeah, I think something like that would be could be very helpful.
Yeah. You know, and oddly, I found, because in doing lots of outreach meetings, you know, some people, when they see like municipal parking, they don't think, you know, they think, oh, I can't park there because it's municipal. It's like, no, it's for people. It's
Public parking.
It's public parking. You know, some folks just don't understand that vernacular. I don't know why, but it's odd how people are, you know, and then you have people parking in places where they shouldn't, and they don't care what the sign says. They're going to park. If they see a free spot, you know, they'll pull in. So one other
Well,
thing.
One last thing. Oh, one last thing.
No, go ahead.
And well, you just touched on it a little bit, is the whole idea of parking meters. I'm against them, especially for downtown Torrington right now. Downtown Torrington is suffering for probably reasons that I don't even understand, but I think to have parking, I know when I had a Subway in that building at one time, and people, I'd be down there for some reason, and people would go run into the store for a Subway, and then they'd come out and have a $10 ticket on their window. And they said, that's the last time I'm ever going to that store. So for the amount of money, and I talked to the mayors, and I don't know if I ever talked to Marty about that, but
Yeah,
for the amount of money that's
we'd have a
raised,
big debate on that, Jim.
I know it.
Because what ends up happening is the owner of the store stays parked in front of it, or their employees, all day long. I dealt with that over and over again with free parking in Litchfield on the green when I was the land use person. Maybe I think, you know, that you have a good idea with short-term parking. If it's a restaurant, you know, or like a Subway or something like that where there's takeout. But otherwise, Jim, you end up with the employees parked there all day long.
I've heard that, Marty. I have heard that. And maybe I don't doubt that what you're saying is, I guess, true. Well, then it's a matter of education, because then you need to talk to the store owners and say to them, look, if you park here, you know, you're hurting your own business. And we've taken down the meters, or we put hoods over them, at least temporarily. I thought that was an idea, but a hood over a meter saying, you know, this is free parking, courtesy of the Downtown Merchants Association. I think years ago they were talking about they raised $40,000 or $50,000 a year from those meters downtown, or from parking meters in general. And I said that's a fraction of what the town could benefit from in other ways if people didn't have those parking meters, if they didn't have to pay for downtown parking. So I understand what you say, Marty, and I'm sure it's probably true. So as I get back to it, it'd have to be a matter of education of these storefront, these you know, owners downtown, and say, you know, this is, you're just shooting yourselves in the foot if you do that.
Well, then the other thing is that, you know, like West Hartford has done, because there's just, you know, there's so much demand for a parking spot downtown. You know, that you can park there for I think it's 15 minutes. And if you go to, first of all, if you go to one of the kiosk parking, and this is the way it used to be, it might have changed recently, but if you were there less than 15 minutes, when you went out to the gate, you didn't pay. So it was free. And then before that, it was, if you had a parking ticket, and you went in and shopped and you actually paid money somewhere, regardless of the time, you got your parking stamped, you got free parking. I mean, back in the day, I would shop in West Hartford and I could be there an hour and a half, and I never had to pay for parking, and I had a spot. It was great. So, I mean, maybe this parking management thing is something that, I think is I'm actually part of working with Marty and Rista as part of the downtown revitalization. I think, it's something that just keeps coming up that we do have to talk about clearly. I'm hoping that new parking area, that the mayor was able to get behind, where we closed off Franklin, that provides a fair amount of parking there, but people don't know right now that you can park there.
And that's free.
It's
That's
free.
free, Jim. No meters there.
Yes.
So
that's
the
good.
idea that I think we need to have, and West Hartford has it too, if you park further away in these public lots, it's free.
Yeah.
It's just like if you go to the Warner Theater and you want to sit in the first or second row, you got to pay a little bit extra for that convenience.
Right.
If you're willing to walk a few feet and park in one of the further lots, you park for free.
Yeah.
That way that keeps you always keep some spaces free in front of the stores. But if you're going to be there all day, or you're an employee or whatever, you park in one of the lots that's a little further away.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It does. I think that, it's so funny how people are, I mean, parking in a meter is usually pretty reasonable if you're only going to be there for half an hour or an hour. And people have these crazy ideas. They just don't want to chuck in a couple quarters or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
especially to park right up in front. I mean,
Yeah. I know it. Yeah.
And
if I'm
people
gonna do
complain they
that,
don't have quarters.
I
And
know.
Jim,
That's right.
something that you talked to me about 25 years ago, we finally have overnight parking if you live downtown.
Yeah.
Your tenants will be able to get a sticker from the police, and they'll be able to park downtown. So
And Marty,
Yeah.
that was essential, because I mean, how can you have people living downtown if they don't have a place to park overnight? So that was good. Yep.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to revisit your comment about bicyclists. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the connectivity, yeah, we see people walking up and down. Biking, I mean, a little iffy. So I don't think we're really exploring bike lanes per se. We'd like to see connectivity from the perpendicular side, from the residential side. If people want to ride their bikes in and around, even if just for recreation, it doesn't necessarily have to be for business, but, to feed people in from a perpendicular orientation, that I think we would certainly like to encourage.
Sure.
And hey, if someone wants to ride up and down their bike without that little electric kick, then God bless them. But
Yeah.
I don't see, I don't see a lot of that happening.
No, I never saw anyone riding a bike up and down. East Main.
No, but when I'm not sure we'd been hired yet. I was out there because I live in Avon, but I shop a lot in Torrington, and there was a skateboarder headed down one of the steepest sections, and I was like, oh my God. And this wasn't like a 12-year-old. I mean, he had to be in his 20s, I would say. I couldn't believe it. And so we've seen some stuff. Michael Kutchman and I were out a few weeks ago looking at Dibble Street and stuff, and there was a lot of traffic. And when you stand there, I mean, the cars whip by, and my hair is like flying by. I couldn't believe how fast they were going, particularly in an area near Dibble Street where there's the merge, where everybody's trying to compete for the lane. Anyways, Michael turns around and we see a guy walking not right directly across the street, the shortest distance between 2 points.
Right.
He was walking lengthway, like
Kitty corner.
kitty corner, like
Yeah.
at I don't know what degree. And he was making it long, and there's like cars whipping by him. And I was thinking, what are you doing? And Michael snapped a picture of it. And I thought, wow, so you can't fix stupid.
No, that's right.
But we're going to try to just come up with some common sense recommendations, as well as things that the data tells us. Because I do think we have to manage the data. You know, traffic engineers like to look at data and they like to see, well, how can we fix things? Well, we would also like to impart some common sense there, you know, and this is why talking to you folks is so important, because you're relaying things that we certainly can't observe, particularly over the time period that you folks have seen what's been happening out there in the corridor. So this has been great. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, no, I just had one question. Sort of tying to, so Jim mentioned sidewalks, and I was thinking when both Phil and Al were talking, I was looking at, you know, their business fronts on Google Earth here, and we've walked by it, but I just wanted to sort of refresh myself. I noticed there's no sidewalks in front of their businesses, and wondering, you know, how much, you know, do they have, because there are neighborhoods behind you both, do you have clients and regular customers who come from the neighborhoods who would be, because to get in, they're either walking along the street with no sidewalk and coming in the back. Do you think having a sidewalk would help, you know, any of your customers that you have get in safely?
Yeah, I'd like to address that. I don't really have a lot of walk-in customers, you know, from the neighborhood, a few, but they usually come down Durand or Battelle.
And
You
drive.
know, I have seen over the years, I'm gonna have to say, I mean, 5, 6, I mean, not that really long ago, you never saw anybody walking up East Main Street. Now, I mean, it's a common, you see more and more people walking up East Main Street to, you know, wherever, Walmart. I see them coming back down with Walmart bags, you know, so yeah, I mean, the sidewalks definitely on one street, you know, really should be addressed. As far as in front of my property, I mean, one with the cars being in one lane and flying down, I mean, I fear for my life when I mow the lawn out there. I get away from that front of that edge of that road as quick as I can, and I always try to face, you know, east so I can see them coming. But the state owns, you know, which is again why if we put sidewalks on that side of the street, I mean, if and when they ever do widen that, the state does own like about 8 feet into my property on where it's grassy, almost up to my sign. You know, so I don't know if that's, you know, something that we'd, you know, look at, because at some point, if and when they ever do, you know, add another lane, those sidewalks are going to be gone anyway. So yeah, I don't know how that would work, but yeah, as far as my business, yeah, I don't have a lot of walk-in, you know, customers that are, you know, because again, walking away with carrying plants too would be a.
Right, the people leaving your place hopefully have more weight on them, but I guess Al might be later, right?
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt. I have to go. I have a 10 o'clock appointment.
Good to see you,
Okay,
Jim.
thank you so much. It's been
Yes,
great
thank
to
you.
see you, and really appreciate your comments.
Thank you very much for
You
having
take
me. And
care.
I hope, okay, thank you very much. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Take care, Jim.
Rista, anything else to add? Other questions you'd like to ask? Other comments? Certainly want to be respectful of folks' time. We're almost.
No, no, I think this was very helpful. I learned a lot. I can just give you a just really quick, brief comment on the sidewalks, and I think that all the comments that they are necessary and there's more pedestrian traffic is true, and we've known that for a very long time. About 2 years ago, we received a grant for about $2 million to put sidewalks in from Fern up, and we were focusing on one side of the road. It kind of goes from east to west to make sure we have continuous sidewalks. And it is a challenge trying to work with DOT to make sure that the sidewalks are in their right of way. We meet all their criteria with the grade, but we're getting very close. So the sidewalks are something that we are aware of, we know of. It probably will become part of the study, but we're moving forward on it even before the study is done or started. So we are working on that. And I think that the comments that have been made here today have been extremely helpful. I really appreciate the time. And I just want to reiterate that, you know, once we hang up on this call, if something else pops into your head or you want to reach out for any reason, please do so. And, you know, I don't know, Val, if you have that slide again with my email address.
There we go.
So there's my email address, my phone number. I'm here for you guys, whether it's this study or something else. Just feel free to reach out.
Yep. And then look out for our December, I forgot what date already, Michael.
I don't know if we finalized.
It's early
it.
December that we're going to start introducing some recommendations and things. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, we'll be wrapping things up in January. So a lot to do. And yeah, I certainly echo Rista's thanks that this has been wonderful. Just again, to get the perspective from you folks.
And I see that, I just want to, I see that the Register Citizen is on this call. And I think, you know, one of the things that we really want people to know is that this is as much about collecting technical data as it is from hearing from the public and the users. So, you know, I would just encourage anybody you talk to or anything that you write to visit our website, submit on our GIS, send me emails, because we really want to hear, like we did today, the experience of people using the corridor.
And do we have, I don't see who's on from the Register Citizen, but if we can help in any way to provide a graphics file of the corridor or moving forward, if we want to meet in advance to just send you some graphics, if you want to include those, hey, whatever we can do to help you, that would be great.
Hi, it's Emily Olson. That would be great. And Rista, I'll shoot you an email. So maybe Val can forward some things to me to use for a story.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attend tonight's forum as well to hear what
Okay.
residents have to say. So
Great, Emily. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And also, when you shoot Rista the email, let her know what format you'd like it in. I don't know if you need a vector file or you know how your layout people like it a certain way.
yeah.
So yeah, so we want to make sure we get that right. So let her know what we need to do.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Great.
See you, Emily.
Hi, Marty. My friend.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep.